As long as you're intending to be aggressive with Zealots. Building up a lot of Zealots and sitting for an extraordinarily long time is less than ideal. And notice that as KiwiKaki is moving out to be aggressive, taking 1 expo, taking 2 expos. Always want to be expanding as you're moving out to attack. So trying to sweep up here, probably a little surprised to actually see an expansion up here. Oh yes, it is an expo. And because planetary fortresses cannot lift, QXC cancels and lifts. Have to be so careful with your Templar management. I think that Templar and Observer Micro is going to increasingly become a key skill. Because look at that, 1 Templar just gone, eliminated, good gamed. QXC is able to take out this expo, but being very, very careful, setting up more expansions. And here is the big transition I loved from QXC that really I have not seen from anyone other than him. I think many people do this sort of thing. I actually think a lot of American players especially favor this big mass gateway style. Inca is another name that comes to mind of a player who does a good job of just doing mass Templar, Zealot, Stalker, gateway-oriented play. But this is a funky transition that I've seen KiwiKaki do a number of times. He just gets 4 robo-bays and starts slamming out a ton of Colossi. An outrageous amount of Colossi. And with all these Nexi, or Nexuses, or Noxen, or whatever the plural is, he can chrono boost so many of them so quickly that he ends up with this weird bolstered force all of a sudden. So here comes the robotics bay. I'm going to just kind of hang out here happily. Wow, yep, there's a chrono boost. Multi-Coloxen, there they go. Just chrono boosting everything as best he can. And again, here comes the next Doom push from QXC. I just don't like this push angle so much. I kind of prefer scooping in from the bottom side. Even though these expansions, these 2 ones, end up being defended better when QXC moves up this top lane, I still feel like this storm up top is a little bit too potent. It's just so scary. So of course QXC I think realizes this and says, oh yeah, I guess I'm backing up. Oh, and obviously when these Colossi pop out, having this high ground is going to be brutal for Terran to try to push in from here. He's getting attacked from up here, from the front, and then Colossi and storms raining down from above. Either way, I think most people would look at this situation from QXC and say, yes, he has won this game. He has 1 million extra minerals. But KiwiKaki just does this unbelievably baller transition to mass Colossi. And there are 4 Colossi just popping out right away. And here comes first gigantic battle. Oh, there's 1 good storm going off there. And oh, it doesn't quite get off another one. Because again, Templar management is so key. And here's an Archon trying to be useful, but then getting a little embarrassed. And oh, yep, there. That's why we don't build Archons. You know, I hate on Archons. I don't actually know if they're a horrible unit, but at the very least, it's very fun to make fun of them. So we do see many more Colossi coming out, an extra range upgrade coming out right now. QXC just being so damn patient. And honestly, I think that the key thing to do as Terran in this position is to make a bunch of extra starports and start gearing up to get battle cruisers. Because battle cruisers' air-to-ground damage is absurd. It is the sickest air-to-ground damage I have ever seen. It just kills stuff so fast. And obviously, look at this army mix. No anti-air. Templar are going to be good for the storm, but there's some big EMPs going off because of the cloak. Notice that none of these units really have any energy. KiwiKaki patiently pulling back, waiting to heal up a little bit. QXC just positioned here, not really doing anything yet. Marines R2-1, are more upgrades coming? Yes, indeed. Excellent play. But God, I just love this chrono boosted for sudden robotics facility play. I do feel that maybe we could have cut back on some of these gateways because they haven't really been in maximum use all game long. But this is just such a cool transition into the late game because you have this lean army of Zealots, Templars, Stalkers that can do a serious amount of damage. And warping in a pylon, nice. They can do a serious amount of damage in small forces, but then adding on these Colossi to really do some serious meaty damage. Look at that, +3 upgrades. And oh god, look at this, not upgraded at all, or excuse me, not sieged at all. And here come everything advancing in, and look at this huge army just getting sent into the orange zone, and even without any Templar at the front to be able to storm. Look at all the feedbacks going down on all those Ravens. And at the end of the day, the tanks just do too much damage to ground, so the entire ground army is completely decimated, except for these Colossi, which just do such absurd amounts of damage. What cool play by KiwiKaki, and suddenly he seems to have leveled the playing field. And again, if you had pylons all over the place, you know, if you already had a pylon here, warping in the back would just be an excellent, excellent little play. And yet more Colossi just being chrono boosted. And really, none of these gateways are quite as active as they ideally should be. Now we see a full production cycle of units spawning out here. But again, Zealot Templar, even if the Colossi already exist, Zealot Templar, great way to be very, very aggressive. It's a very lean, cheap, easy to make army. It's incredibly mobile, so you can just get places and do tons of damage really fast. And in the meantime, QXC hasn't quite been able to restabilize, so he's... You know, he has a million unit-producing structures. I mean, his whole base is filled with unit-producing structures. Thank God that you have big mains in Metalopolis, because he wouldn't even be able to do anything. But, I mean, these two expansions go down real fast. Look at some units even being warped in on top. And the SCVs try to run away, but of course, this is War of the Worlds we are watching, and they will be turned into baby powder. Which, again, I didn't make this up. Apparently, that was just the artistic touch Steven Spielberg put in that movie. But anyways, the Colossi do a good job cleaning up, and this sick number of Colossi is really tough to deal with. And this is part of the reason why I was already saying earlier that I think Terran should be transitioning to battlecruisers at this stage in the game, just to be able to deal with this big mix. And of course, the natural response for Protoss would be blink stalkers to get in there. Perhaps Phoenixes, but Phoenixes just don't really do that much damage to battlecruisers. Battlecruisers are just good. I generally think it's the mobility of the Protoss army that's going to be most effective. But god, this army is just so fast and all over the place by KiwiKaki because it can climb up and down everywhere. And here's something that I think QXC should have been doing a lot earlier. Lots of little small counterattacks, more drops should have been going on. His big, neat pushes were obviously really effective, but these... no reason not to do them. And look at the huge push down here. There's just so many Colossi. And Storm plus Colossi is just too good. Look at QXC's numbers just melt. I mean, let's just go back and rewatch this battle just to see explicitly what it is that went so wrong for QXC or so right for KiwiKaki. So first of all, these Marines, they're trying to get up there, but look at KiwiKaki pulling everything back a lot, right? Making sure that all the Colossi are as far out of range as possible. And then here come some big feedbacks on these Marine Marauder groups. We do hear some, I think we heard some Seeker missiles going off in there, but I mean, it really goes to show that if you can get some good storms off, and also have the Colossi and a decent number of Zealots there, it's just really hard for Terran to be able to deal with it with this particular unit mix. I really think that Hellions going to be a little bit more a popular choice to be able to effectively deal with this many Zealots. But I mean, until that point in time, Zealots are just, they are just so your best friend against small numbers of Marines and even small numbers of tanks. Look at that, in these open spaces just roasting absolutely everything. And the tanks finally able to do a little bit of damage. And look, there's the hero of the day. This battlecruiser is going to be able to repel everything. And meanwhile, QXC was sending a handful of guys up here. They did end up falling, but battlecruisers, I just think, are essential in these later stages of the game. Sure, they can get fed back or feed-backed, but they only have 200 energy, so at worst they're losing about 2/5 of their life, which isn't too much. I mean, if you're losing under half of your life, I think that at the very least you're going to be okay, especially considering the Templar are going to be low on energy. But, you know, trying to keep these Banshees or these Ravens back, make sure they don't get fed back. And just a single battlecruiser might be a little bit over-ambitious, but still notice how quickly these Stalkers end up falling. I mean, look at the damage output. Even though that battlecruiser did die, it was one battlecruiser pretty much against everything, and it held down like a hero. So I do think that having more battlecruisers, at least the production ability to do that, is going to be really effective. But now that KiwiKaki is low on expansions, notice that this is pretty much his only running source of income. No Colossi being produced, returning back to pretty much just ground units. This huge Colossus play wasn't a permanent transition. It was something that he was able to do due to having just so much money. And apparently getting a little overeager with his Colossi, and one of them accidentally bumps his head into the Viking and immediately falls apart into a million pieces. So I love this super late game mass Colossi transition. But of course, when the Colossi don't end up working, just more lean units. Oh, God. And of course, this is where Tesla crashes, and everyone's concerned about the fact that she disconnected. But regardless, game's still on, and game's still awesome. So we're seeing more of this mix by QXC, and this sort of tank-heavy into battlecruiser later mix is something we saw the Little One do against Nazgul in the Team Liquid Invitational, and I think it's super effective, and I also think that the way to defeat it is to do something similar to what KiwiKaki is doing, being all over the place, and a lot of that has to do with having these pylons, these very fast unit mixes, and of course just this general unit composition is pretty damn strong. There's the feedback going down on every single unit with energy, and there's just not quite enough stuff to keep